Hi, this is Mary Beth Shaw from StencilGirl Products. Welcome back to Stencil School. Today I want to show you some of the ins and outs of using stencils when you are making an encaustic painting. This is not meant to be a tutorial on how to use encaustic paint or any of that. It's a very complex process, and you maybe already know how to do it but have just never tried using stencils with it. And that's what I want to explore in this video, is how to use a stencil. So what you see me doing right now is preparing the background. Typically you put several layers of encaustic medium on your substrate, kind of like a gesso, I guess. I am using encaustic board by Ampersand, and so it's already white, and I put my 3 coats on. Now I am putting the encaustic paint on my hot palette and getting it, you know, all heated and melted, and I'm going to paint over this stencil. The stencils made by StencilGirl are made of Mylar, which is a naturally heat-resistant type of substance. And you cannot do this with all stencils, okay? I'm just going to tell you, your stencil will melt if you put, you know, 175-degree encaustic wax paint over top of the stencil. So you can see me lifting it up here in a minute, and I'm going to use the heat gun on the low setting. It has a high and a low setting, and I'm using the low setting for this, and I am just holding the heat gun above the stencil while I pull it up, the stencil up, and then I'm heating to fuse that into place, which is part of what you do when you're making encaustic paintings. You have to fuse each layer so that it is then permanent when you're ready to go on to the next layer. And I love the fact that our stencils do this. I mean, seriously, right? The fact that you can create these textured layers with stencil is just thrilling to me. I designed my triangles just for this purpose, my triangle stencils. It was for a show I did a number of years ago, and oh my gosh, just loved it. You see me shaking the heat gun. There's absolutely no reason to do this. I do not know why I do it. I think it's because that's what I do with my hair dryer, and so then I transfer that stupid little skill set over to my encaustic work. Ha! Anyway, so now that's fused down, and I am going to just kind of keep painting on this a little bit randomly here and there, mainly to show you some of the depth that you can get using the stencils with the encaustic paint. I'm using some different colors here and there, and I'm going to just keep building layers for a while. If you've watched any of my videos before, you probably already know that I do like to throw in some hot pink and some crazy colors, some unexpected colors, and that's what I'm doing here. I was drizzling a little bit of medium over top of the pink to maybe make it slightly more transparent than it was in its full strength. So that was what I'm doing there, and I'm just going to blend some additional colors in here. You can probably see the area that I stenciled previously looks a little bit milky white on the top. That is because I painted a layer of medium over top of that stenciled bit so that it would be preserved, that layer would be preserved as I moved forward. You can work back into Encaustics, you can scrape down and so forth, and I just wanted that layer to be a little bit more protected. Now I'm going to go back in and add some more stencil here with some of these different colors I've blended up on my palette. And I'm doing that just like I did it before. I'm using a brush and painting right over top of the stencil. It's a great way to get some texture built up in your piece. You can, and it largely depends on how much you decide to fuse it with the heat gun, but I sort of like those textured bits. I pulled it up there without heating the stencil to release it, but, and you'll see that I overfused this area right here, and I've got some focus things going on. My camera just decided, it couldn't decide whether it was focusing on the substrate or the heat gun, so I apologize if it's blurring in and out. This encaustic filming is a little bit more complex than my normal filming, and I also have a enormous exhaust fan, and I had to take all of the sound off of it and then do this voiceover afterwards. But again, I am simply continuing to build layers with the encaustic paints at this point. At this stage of the artwork, I wanted to develop more contrast with some lighter lights and some darker darks, and I thought I would use another companion stencil, which is bigger triangles. and in order to do that. And what I really want to point out here is the delicacy of this stencil. And it works with hot wax. I mean, this is extraordinary to me. I am absolutely thrilled that we are able to offer this to the wax world, all of you who love, love, love encaustic painting. I've done plenty of it in my time. I just haven't done it recently. And I'll have to say, it was fun pulling out the tools and working on this. I recently set up an area in my house where I can do encaustic painting again. It is a little bit more complex than your average process, primarily due to the exhaust requirements, because you do not want to breathe the fumes. And anyway, so here I am using my heat gun with this delicate little stencil, and the delicate little stencil is absolutely fine. I mean, I just love that, how you can expose the underneath bits, and I just find it thrilling. Now, I have yet to add the contrast I was seeking, and I'm going to be doing that shortly when you'll see me using a super dark paint. But I'm going to be quiet here for a moment as I just continue to build some color. Now here's where I really did get into the darker paint, and the first thing you'll see me doing is scraping a little bit of the wax away. I wanted a straighter line there. This is a little scraping tool that I believe is actually used for ceramic work, but you know, that's the thing about encaustic painting. you've ever seen somebody doing it. Oh my gosh, it is just a really thrilling practice, and it has a lot of forgivability. Oh my goodness. I mean, you can put down things and completely remove them and then continue on with your work. And there's not a lot of mediums that will let you do that, so it is pretty thrilling. I am going to go for the darker color at this point in time. And then I tried a new technique that I want to be sure you all see, because it was something I'd never done before, and I got really excited. I can't wait to go back and try it again. So just watch. So once again, I'm painting over the stencil, only with the darker color, and it's going to add some of the contrast that I am seeking in the piece. You can see that dot I have up there of wax that just flipped off my brush. I decided to leave it, and in a later moment here, you'll see me just hit the brush to get a bunch of dots to go over it. And it's cool that you can do that just like you can do with acrylic paint. Here I'm adding a little heat to the stencil to pull it away from the underneath bit and to pull it up. Okay, now did you see me flip it? I flipped the stencil with the black on the front side, and you can see it went onto the art, and it made some linear parts rather than the big open parts. So now I was like, I kind of like that. So I decide to do it on purpose. And you'll see me doing that here in a minute, because I have honestly never thought about doing that in encaustic work to get the encaustic wax to stick on the line part of the stencil. All I'm doing there is pointing out that the edge of the piece was developing a lot of wax on it, and I put it on the palette to heat it, and then you can just get the wax melted right off. If you have keen eyes, you'll probably see that I dropped the entire painting on my hot palette, but it was okay. Oh my gosh, I was freaking out. So hang tight here, and I'm going to do a little bit more with that dark color, which I'm diluting somewhat with other colors to go more into a gray frame of reference than just the carbon black. And I am trying as much to put the black through the stencil as I'm trying to keep the black on the stencil so that I can flip it. Because I want to try that technique again. And I know that's exactly what was going through my mind here is, ooh, I want to flip that again. I want to flip it. So I'm going to use the heat gun in order to keep the top part a little bit more liquid, and then flip it quick. And I used my hand because even though it's hot, it's not that hot. I mean, plus I've got on a glove, and look at that, it just pulls the stencil design. So cool. I am just about finished with this piece. I've had a great playtime this afternoon, and I hope I've shown you a few things you can do with stencils and with encaustic painting. Now, here is how you clean a stencil. Throw it on your hot palette. You'll see my little thermometer on the palette because you need to keep the palette under 200 degrees. Usually I keep it around 175, and the stencils will survive that perfectly. You just throw them right on the palette, wipe it off with a paper towel. Easy peasy. I hope you have enjoyed this little peek into the world of encaustic painting with stencils. I am pleased to have been able to share these techniques, and I hope it inspires you to make some brilliant art. Thank you so much for watching.